In today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to bulk properly, teach you guys how to do it the right way and the way that I would do it. That's my credentials in case you were wondering. Yeah, let's get into it. What is a bulk? Well, a bulk is a period of intentional calorie surplus, meaning we are eating more calories than we are burning. So we're eating more calories than our maintenance level calories. Take me, for example. I'm a 220-pound male. I'm 6 foot and I'm 23 years old. My maintenance calories is around 3,000 calories, and I probably burn anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calories a day. So that being said, in all, I need to be eating more than the calories I burned, and I need to be eating more than my maintenance calories to, actually be on the bulk and be in what's called a calorie surplus, which I'll go over later. The true objective for a bulk is muscle and strength gain, not just weight gain. A bulk is not just a period where we're gaining fat and we're just getting heavier. The whole reason to bulk is because you want to get stronger and bigger. You don't just want to gain weight to get obese. You want to gain weight and have that weight be coinciding with the muscle that you're gaining. So as you're getting heavier on the scale, your numbers in the gym should also be going up and you should also be getting stronger. And a proper bowl is very much controlled. It's not reckless. It's not just eating whatever you want whenever you want, eating McDonald's, eating this crap and stuff like that. A real proper bulk is controlled. We know what we're doing, and it's not reckless at all. So there's a lot of people try to bulk and a lot of people fail bulks for a lot of reasons. And right now I'm going to get into why people often fail bulks and why they struggle with bulks. And it's because so many people always are telling themselves, I'm eating so much. Like, you're not. Trust me. Like the burger and fries you had, like, the three chicken breasts you had, the chicken and rice you had, the beef and steak you had, it was good. That was good macros, that's good eats, that's good protein. But you actually didn't eat as much as you thought you ate because I'm pretty sure you didn't track it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you were tracking it, then you know exactly how much you ate. But you didn't eat that much. You thought you ate a lot, but in reality, you didn't. You didn't. And so that being said, your calories are just inconsistent day to day. Like on Monday, you might have, three really solid meals where you eat enough. And then the next day, Tuesday, you have two big meals. And you're like, well, these two big meals definitely equal those three meals, those three solid meals. Like, no, they didn't. Trust me. And then you have one super big meal, like on Wednesday, you're like, okay, every day was the same. Like, trust me, the calories weren't the same. You're not in a surplus. You're not even gaining weight. You know what I'm saying? So being inconsistent with the calories that you're eating day to day is another reason why people struggle. Also, your training is lacking progressive overload. Again, like I said, a bulk is not just gaining weight. A bulk is gaining strength. So we need to be training with progressive overload. We need to be increasing the weight. We need to be increasing the reps. We need to be increasing the sets. Something needs to be going up because if our weight is going up, some other metric in the gym needs to be going up as well. And people just have a fear of getting fat. Like, it's a bulk, dude. Like, a little bit of fat is gonna come with the muscle, but what you need to remember is muscle, one, weighs more than fat, and also it's much easier to cut than it is to bulk. Trust me, I've been doing both for a while, and when I say it's a lot easier to lose 20 pounds than gain 20 pounds, I mean it. Seriously. And so how will this guide like exactly help you succeed on a bulk? Well, what I'm about to break down for you, it'll help you remove the guesswork around calories. It's not, you think you're eating 2,000 calories this day and you actually didn't. It's going to remove all that guesswork around it, so you know how many calories you're actually eating and the intake you're actually getting. It's going to focus on proven fundamentals. So if you guys don't know me, I have a background in neuroscience and psychology, and I've also been training for 8 years now. So all the things I'm going to reference are proven to work, and they're fundamental in most people's bulks. Most people who have any experience in the field of weight training, powerlifting, bodybuilding, all these people go on bulks. And this plan will also, help keep things simple and sustainable. I'm going to give you guys three simple pillars to follow. And, it's just super simple. If you understand these basic things, the three pillars, you will be successful with the bulk. It's really not that complicated. And this plan will also help support long-term progress, because a bulk should be a long-term thing. You shouldn't be bulking for 1 to 2 weeks. Like, you're not going to see any real progress, you're not going to see any real strength gain, because bulking and progressive overloading takes time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So this plan that I'm about to help you give you, it'll help support your long-term progress. And so there's 3 pillars. All you got to do is hit 3 things and you'll have a successful bro. I promise you. First things first is nutrition. Nutrition is so important in any type of training, bulking, cutting, powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever you're doing, anything physical. Your nutrition is honestly the most important part. What you're putting into your body is so important. And so we need to be in a calorie surplus. Again, like how I talked about earlier, we need to be eating more calories than we burn, and we need to be eating above our maintenance calories. And so when you eat above your maintenance calories, that means you're in a surplus, because maintenance is base level, a deficit is when you're cutting, and a surplus is when you're bulking, trying to gain weight, trying to gain muscle. With your nutrition, the surplus should be around 250 to 750 calories. That's how much it should be. So again, in my example, as a 220-pound, 6 foot, 23-year-old male, if my maintenance is 3,000, I should be eating anywhere from 3,500 to 3,800, and that's a good, like, solid bulk that you can do consistently. Now, there are aggressive and not aggressive stages to everything. If I'm in an aggressive bulk, I might push that even further to a surplus of like 1,000 calories. So I might be eating, 4,000 calories instead of my maintenance of three. But the thing is, when you get aggressive with stuff, that's where, when you get aggressive with the bulk specifically, that's where you start to see more fat and not as much muscle. So keep that in mind. A lot of people, like, I played college football and I would do aggressive bulks eating those 4,000 calories, and I would gain weight pretty fast. But again, most of that weight, it would be, not all muscle. Whereas when you do a slower, steady, sustainable bulk, most of the weight you're gaining is, 80 to 90% muscle. But again, if you're doing a fast bulk, aggressive, rapid bulk, that could be anywhere from like 50-50 muscle fat or like 60-40. So just keep that in mind. Also, when you're bulking, protein is so important, dude. You need to be aiming to get zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per body, because again, protein breaks down into amino acids, which are the building blocks of our muscles. And again, the bulk is to be getting stronger, heavier, bigger, not fatter. We're not bulking to get fat, bro. Go eat McDonald's if you're bulking to get fat. We are bulking to build muscle and be a unit. Also, carbs. We need our carbs because carbs fuel our performance. Carbs are what our ATP is. Carbs break down into glucose. We need that, when we're lifting heavy weights, and we need that energy to, move that 405 off our chest, or we need that energy to squat that 500 and then burst back up to the top. So we need to be eating a lot of carbs during our bulk to fuel ourselves. We also cannot forget about fats, dude. So many people like to cut out fats in their cut, and I don't think as many people cut them out during their bulk. Like, honestly, you should never cut out fats from your diet at all. Fats are such a valuable nutrient that a lot of people don't really understand. And fats support our hormones. There's a lot of vitamins in our body that are fat soluble. And so that means the vitamins in our body can actually break down and do what they need to do if fat isn't present. Your brain, yeah, the thing in your head, it's also majority made of fat. So you need these fats to help you produce these hormones. Hormones like testosterone, if you're a dude and you want to, be a dog and have that mentality and that spirit and that drive, you need testosterone. And fat helps make testosterone. It helps make your muscles grow. So we can't be, disrespecting fat. We need to, be eating healthy fats, obviously omega 3s, fish oils, and things like that. But we need to keep fats in our nutrition to support our hormones. And a bonus thing for the bulk, dude, liquid calories, dude. Liquid calories help you gain weight so easy. One, because they're easily digestible. Like, I have protein in my refrigerator right next to me, dude. I have Ensure, that's a little one. Yeah, I have Ensures in here. two different insurers because those are just, quick calories. You can buy them at bulk at things like Sam's Club, maybe Costco, I don't know. And then I also have a mass gainer protein shake downstairs. So my mass gainer, that bad boy is 600 calories. If I drink two of those, that's 1,200 calories, bro. I'm a third or a fourth up to my goal already just off of a 5 minute protein shake. So, adding liquid calories, protein shakes into your diet, it just helps you become more consistent, especially if you're like, dang, I didn't meal prep today and I want to eat something, or I want to get my calories and protein in. Boom, liquid calories makes it so easy. It doesn't sit in your stomach too long, and it just helps your consistency. Also, we do not want to give for creatine on that bulk, boys. Dude, creatine is so important in terms of strength, supporting your strength and your muscle support. You know, Creatine, everybody makes creatine naturally. If you know anything about creatine, it's just we get it from like red meats and stuff like that. In our population, our society, not too many people eat that. I mean, if you see like people on the carnivore diet, those people have a crazy amount of creatine because they're eating like red meats and steaks and beef and stuff like that on the daily. But most people don't. Most people like to eat cereal, which is terrible. You shouldn't be eating cereal because it's not natural. But yeah, like add creatine to your diet. It has so many physical health benefits. It also is really good for your cognitive and for your cognitive health in your brain as well. The second step, or the second pillar that we need to focus on during our bulk, is our training. We got to be locked in with our training on our bulk as well. So that means we're doing the progressive overload. Like that's non-negotiable, bro. The whole point of the bulk is to get bigger, stronger, and become a unit. You want to grow in size. So you have to be overloading. That's the only way to get better is to do little, 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 more, 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 more. Little by little, more by more. That is the best way to get better at something. That is the best way to succeed. That is the best way to success. The first millionaire probably didn't stop at $1 million. He wanted to get to 2 million. 3 million. He was overloading himself. He was doing progressive overload to get to more and more M's. You know what I'm saying? And we've got to be doing the same thing in terms of weight at the gym. So, if we're benching 225 the first week, we better be benching 235 the second week, 245 after that, 255 after that, and so on. We've got to be increasing the weight because if we're gaining weight, our body should then naturally be able to support more weight in the gym. You understand? That's the whole point of the bulk. If you're following me, you're gaining weight so that you can be stronger to support lifting more weight. So as we're gaining weight on the scale, we need to be adding weight in the gym, adding reps, adding sets, adding something to make sure that we are progressive overloading. We also need to prioritize our compound lifts. So that's our bench press, our squats, our deadlifts, you know, any of these, hinging movements, pressing movements, doesn't just have to be bench press, that can be shoulder press, military press, doesn't just have to be barbell squat, can be front squat, can also be hack squat. Like that's a compound. Compounds get our whole body, or not our whole body. Compounds, well, squats get that whole body basically, but compounds, they just work bigger groups of muscles. So when you're doing a bench press, that's working your chest, but that's also incorporating your triceps. Or when you're doing a squat, that's working your quads, but it's also working your glutes, your hamstrings, and your core to stabilize. So we want to be doing these compound lifts because that helps engage more muscles, which obviously we're trying to build muscle. So why wouldn't we want to engage more muscles, right? Makes sense, right? You're following? I hope so. Next, we want to be tracking our weight and reps. This will make the progressive overload like super easy to follow because when we're tracking our weight and reps, we can look back at it from the prior week and understand, oh, okay, I did 215, so now I need to do 225. Or, if you're tracking in one week, it was 225 was too hard and you're like, okay, let's try it again. Boom, you hit it this week. Now you know the next week to go up. So tracking your weight and reps is really good for understanding and being able to follow a good progressive overload schedule. Your strength gains drive size and muscle growth. So again, so important that we are, incorporating progressive overload because that helps our strength gains. And again, when you're gaining strength, when you can do more presses on the bench press, your chest is growing. That means your muscle is growing. When you can do, a 45 this week instead of the 35 you did last week on a dumbbell curl, your bicep is going. It's stretching the muscle out. You know what I'm saying? Well, quick flex there. But anyway, yeah. So we got to be prioritizing our strength training, compounds, and progressive overloads when we're training during the bulk. We're not here to be doing hypertrophy and to be looking pretty. Like that's not the goal of the bulk. The goal of the bulk is to become a unit, to become a grown man, and be a dog. So that's what we're training for. We're training to freaking lift cars, bro. We're training to throw trees, bro. We're not training. We're not training to pose. That's the cutting video. I have another video on cutting that it will also be out, and you can go watch that as well. But this is for them dogs that's trying to bulk up and get strong. Anyway, next, recovery. So important, dude. So important. Because why? Your muscle is not built in the gym. Your muscle's broken down in the gym. Your muscle's built at home, though. Your muscle's built when you're not training. When you're training, you're breaking down the muscle because again, you're the marble and the sculptor. You have to break it down to then build it. So that's why you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep because that supports your growth. Studies everywhere. I really don't even have to get into this. 7 to 9 hours of sleep is mandatory when you're on a bulk because if you actually want that all that protein that you've been eating and drinking to set into your body to break down into those amino acids to lock onto your muscle fibers and to rebuild the muscle fiber that you broke in the gym, you have to be sleeping enough so your body can do work because your body does an insane amount of work while it sleeps. So don't skip out on your sleep. And also allow rest days, dude. Rest days allow recovery and adaptation, dude. So on the days, I personally train 6 days a week. So that one rest day is so important to me. I love to relax. But again, if you're on a schedule that only allows you to work out 5 or 4 days, honestly, if you're on a bulk and you're not working out at least 4 days, that may be an issue for you because the thing about the bulk is again you want to build these consistent habits. If you're not able to go to the gym at least more than 50% of your week, if you're going to the gym under 50% of your week, it's like, are you really a dog? Like, do you really want it? You work 12 hours. You're a nurse, say you work those 12-hour shifts. You only work 3 of them a week. You get 4 off days. I'm pretty sure I know a couple of nurses, but maybe you're working a harder job and it's something else. But on those rest days, you need to allow the recovery so your body can recover and adapt, and adapt to these new things, the new muscle fibers you're growing and stuff like that. And also, chronic stress slows progress, dude. Like, again, I study neuroscience and I study a lot of like different brain diseases, and chronic stress is honestly a disease. Like stress is when it's chronic. Acute stress is like not as bad. That's like, oh, there's one stressful thing that happens, but chronic stress is stress that lingers and stress doesn't go away. So you want to be avoiding all chronic stressors because again, that just hurts your brain, which in turn hurts your body, hurts your consistency, hurts your progress. So avoid all chronic stress. Also, eat your vitamins and minerals, dude. Take that vitamin D supplement. Take those multivitamins. Take that magnesium. That supports your overall health, bro. You want to have strong bones. You want to have a strong body. You want to be strong all around, and you don't want to get sick. Why would you want to get sick if your immune system is weak and you get sick on the bulk? You just lost 10 pounds, 5 pounds, bro. You just set yourself back weeks on the bulk. So, take your vitamins and minerals. Keep your immune system and your overall health up to date. And then, stay hydrated, dude. Drink lots of water, especially if you're on creatine. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're on creatine works with water. If you don't drink water and you eat creatine and you just, eat so much creatine or take the supplements for creatine, like that's going to get you congested with creatine. You need water to wash all this stuff out. Just like when you're eating, if you have no belly, your throat is dry, bro. You need the water to wash it down through your digestive system and out of your urinary system or out of your other systems to get it all out of you, bro. So make sure that you're drinking water, dude. That really impacts your performance and your recovery a lot. And then the other thing for the bulk is we need to be having a certain mindset and expectations for a bulk. So what does the mindset look like and expectations? Well, muscle takes time, dude. Like I said, bulking is a lot harder than cutting. So have the expectation that, you're just not going to increase your bench press from 225 to 315 in 1 month. Like very honestly, you're probably not. You're probably not. I'm sorry. That's not the way it works. In maybe 5 months, 5, 6 months, half a year, yeah, you probably could. Like honestly, very honestly, I got my bench press from like from like 365 to 405. So I increased my bench press like 40 pounds in like, a month or 2 months. So going from 225 to 315 in like half a year, like a year, that's very doable, very doable. But again, muscle takes time. Building muscle is much harder than cutting. So it's a time game. Have that expectation that this bulk will take some time. I think a bulk should be a minimum of 3 months. Very honestly, it should be a minimum of 3 months. Next, some fat gain is normal during the bulk. Again, so many people when they're trying to, get jacked or become a unit, get swole, it's like, well, I actually don't want to gain any belly fat. And it's like, dude, gaining fat is normal. Again, we're not cutting fat out of our nutrition, out of our diet. So some fat gain is normal. Again, if you're doing a slower bulk, less rapid, not as aggressive, you'll gain way less fat and you'll gain way more muscle. But again, if you want to be in a time crunch, and you want to do everything in like 2 to 3 months, because I think it should be 3 months. But again, if you're in the time crunch, you want to be aggressive, and you're doing it in 2 to 3 months, then it's like you're going to gain more fat. You're going to gain fat and muscle, but it's going to be more fat that you gain than it would have been if you took a slower, longer bulk and focused on eating healthy, you know, steak, beef, chicken, rice, pasta, these high caloric foods that have good protein and good carbs versus like, you eating like 70% lean, 30% beef every day, or you eating out at McDonald's every day. Like you're going to gain fat on that type of bulk, dude. But again, that is normal, and it's a lot easier to cut than it is to the bulk. So once you bulk up, gain that 30 pounds, gain that muscle, just cut the fat off, keep the muscle. Simply put. And consistency matters more than eating perfectly. I know I make a lot of jokes about like McDonald's and stuff all the time, but it's like, dude, being consistent, getting your calories in is so important. And so that's why the liquid calories are super important as well. Like on those days where, you don't have time to meal prep for the week, or you didn't cook anything, and now it's like you need to cook, drink a protein shake, bro. Drink mass gainer, bro. Get your calories in, or hit a healthy option. Hit Chipotle up, bro. Get a burrito, get a bowl, bro. Rice, steak, chicken, whatever you want, bro. Add the beans in there, bro. Get that protein in there, bro. So eating consistently is much more important than eating perfect. If we can't eat chicken and rice or steak and rice every day, as long as we are eating enough, that's the main thing. And finally, longer bulks lead to better results. I'll really stress this and say, you know, if your goal is to really get as big as possible, to get jacked, to become a unit, gain that muscle, gain that size, gain that strength, you want to take your time with it. Rome wasn't built in a day. The most successful men, weren't built in a day. The most strong bodies were not built in a day. It takes time, it takes progressive overload, and it takes consistency. So, if you're in it for the long run, I think you'll do a lot better with the bulk than if you're just trying to be aggressive and gain weight super fast. Because usually when you gain weight super fast, it's not always the best way. But when you gain weight slowly and you take your time with it, you get better results. You actually gain real muscle, and it's a sustainable thing that you gained. So overall, that's my system that I would use to bulk properly. 3 pillars: nutrition, training, and recovery. Focus on those, focus on being consistent, and don't let any distractions get in the way. Hope you guys have a successful bulk. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give me a like and a thumbs up, and perhaps drop a comment below, because bulking shouldn't be stressful, confusing, or sloppy. It should be efficient and straightforward. And so, if you do have further questions or want some guidance on your next bulk, feel free to reach out to me. My links are in my bio, or you can reach out to me on Instagram. And again, the link in my bio is a link to my one-on-one scheduler. And on that link, you can schedule a free one-on-one consultation call with me. Other than that, hope this video helps you understand how to bulk the right way. Have a blessed day.